It's your favourite kind of episode. It's kind of my favourite kind of episode as well. It's the first transfer special of Park to Prem. It's always an important one, especially after last episode. We must get promotion this year. The next couple of videos can be rather important towards that. Yes, folks, a warm welcome back. It's episode number 8 of Park to Prem. It's the start of Season 2, and after yesterday's heartbreak in the playoffs, we are back dusting ourselves off, preparing for the upcoming season, which is perhaps a little sooner than you might expect. It's the 24th of June in game. I waited for the season tick-over date. We've had our yearly sponsorship money come in. Season ticket sales have also started to happen, and on top of that, some early sales. Now, of course, we already know that we've got a handful of players leaving on free transfers, but there were some players with some interest that I decided to cash in on. The first is Kwamina. He is heading to Bolton. He will be a hot prospect at Bolton at the very best. This man, for us, just wasn't very reliable. 31 appearances, 6.77 rating. He's in this weird spot where he's a left-back and centre-back who doesn't really have the pace to play left-back, but doesn't really have the aerial ability to play centre-back. So to be honest, when they offered me £50,000 plus 50% of any future sale, it was hard to say no. On top of that, Charles Hagan has left the building to go to Grimsby. Was somewhat surprised we got such a good offer for this guy. At 23 years old, the striker was not exactly a reliable player for us. We gave him 4 starts, 5 sub-appearances. He was one of a number of players on the fringes of the first team. Many of those players on the fringes I have currently demoted down to the under-21s you can see here. Players with contracts expiring at the end of the current year. But yeah, Hagan was one of those players whose contract wasn't expiring at the end of the season. £100,000 for him is £100,000 more than I thought we'd get for him. And there is one more sale currently in progress. Sellers is looking like he is going to leave the building to go to Shrewsbury for £100,000. Also includes a profit of next sale. Of course, Sellers at 29 years old joined us on a free transfer. I just feel like on the £1,000 a week he was on, he wasn't really delivering what we need. Again, another player who I was pleasantly surprised to get such a good offer for. It's going to allow me to reinvest in the team this summer. Speaking of which, you can see in the top right here, transfer budget now sits at £333,000. £4,000 free on the wages. I might shift some of that transfer budget into the wage budgets. There's going to be a wave of players released at the end of June, so some free agents to maybe look out for. But with this being our first transfer window here at a club that can only sign English players, I feel like it's going to be a bit of a learning experience. I don't necessarily feel like the club transfer restriction we have of only English players is going to impact me this year. Obviously, the further we get into the future, the higher we climb up the leagues, probably going to be more of a factor. So I have blocked out a preliminary 11 for the year. A couple of new faces here, some new signings, some regens who have been assigned faces, and of course there is one gap at defensive midfielder. This year, for a lot of the season, we played George Dowling at defensive midfielder, and sadly, with 12 marking, 6 tackling, 8 positioning, I just feel like from a defensive point of view, he wasn't really all that. And whilst Joe Balras has joined us, of course, the player who was available from Burnley on a free transfer, he again is of a similar mould where he's a good defensive midfielder, but with that lack of tackling and marking, I feel like he's not that terrier in the midfield we need. Hume, of course, is a bit of a pacifist in the centre of the defensive mid. I need to find a proper ball winner this summer. Now, you will have also noticed in this blocked out 11, there's not a load of first team changes, but there are a few players missing. Up top, White is a man who I think we're going to put a lot of faith in this year. McGlynn was our leading goal scorer this year, but his wage demands are absolutely outrageous. It looks more and more likely he will leave on a free transfer come the end of the year. But when you look at Andy White, who came in our youth intake, I feel like there's a room and a spot in the team for this guy. I feel like he could be our starting striker alongside Overton. I feel like they're kind of complementary to one another. White is very, very good in the air. He's quite a tall player too. Can play in the wide attacking midfield areas. Given the fact he's 16, I need to give him chances to develop. And of course, Sammy Robinson, our starting right back this year, wants £2,800 a week. I can't afford to pay him that. The good news is, though, we do have some capable right backs in the team. One of the options is Travis Johnson. He last year played right centre back for me. With some of the new additions we brought in, he is now more of a backup player in that right back and centre back area. But Ajaria, who of course was another player who came through our youth intake, is a man who I think I'm going to be trying to force into the first team at right back this year. You might have spotted him out on the right hand right-hand side. The only downside with this guy right now is he doesn't know how to play the right wing-back position. He can play right-back. We're training him to play higher up the pitch. I think game time in the team this coming year is probably going to help him pick it up quicker. I did already mention it, but a load of the players who are going to be leaving at the end of the month I've just stuck in the under-21s. There's two players whose contracts aren't expiring. The first is Eden Page. He's just had far too many issues with injuries for me to feel like he could be a reliable centre-back option for us. Yeah, I mean, look, he missed almost 3 months of football this year. That's just a bit of a problem. And the other man I'm desperate to sell, and I've been offering him out a lot and had no nibbles whatsoever, is Josh Harrop. He is on £1,100 a week. And that makes him one of the highest earners in the club. I can't justify it. I'm trying to get rid of him for free. No one is bidding on him. You might notice one new name at centre-back. Of course, Jack Kingdom was one of a few Manchester United youngsters that we've picked up during the off-season. He is playing at right centre-back for us. I think he's going to be a really, really good fit in the team. We've kind of lacked a little bit of depth and strength at centre-back. Definitely going to need to bring in some new centre-backs this summer for the depth. Looking at things right now, I have 4 first-team centre-backs. So yeah, that's on the shopping list alongside a defensive midfielder. But actually, when it comes to the bench this year, I think it's full of some really young, exciting players. Of course, Victor Musa is the second of those Manchester United youngsters that we've signed. He's going to be our backup striker this year. We also have Jack Morehouse, again, another Manchester United youngster. I'm saying like that, like it guarantees they're going to be good. I hope that's how it works. I mean, they played for Manchester United youth team. They can't be awful footballers. Morehouse here, though, I think is going to be a good centre-attacking mid option for us on the bench. And to be honest, he is one of the reasons why I'm willing to let Sellers go. When you look at the head-to-head comparison here, the fact I could be getting £100,000 for the man on the left, having signed the guy on the right on a free transfer, makes it seem like a really good, sensible bit of business. I already talked about Joe Barres on the bench, but another player who has made the bench at least to start things out is going to be Aaron Allen, another player who came in our intake. There's kind of these 3 new players that have come through the intake. I didn't want to rush them into the team, but by virtue of the fact that we've not been promoted from the National League at the first time of asking, I feel like there's now an opportunity to bring them into the first team, try and give them some regular first-team football. Speaking of which, because we have hit the season tick-over date, you can see our updated media prediction for the current season is 5th place. That is, of course, with our current squad. It's always a little bit weird in Football Manager. You're given this pre-season media prediction in June. That is based on the strength of your current squad, regardless of the players you're about to release at the end of the month, which, of course, at these lower levels, where lots of players are on one-year deals, means that the teams who are rated higher than us might end up releasing a load of players in, well, the end of this month, and suddenly we jump above them. As for ourselves, when it comes to our first team, with the exception of the 2 rather good players, our right back and striker, we're not losing anyone essential in the next week. And you can see here the board expectation for the season has been set. They want me to reach the playoffs, reach the 4th qualifying round of the FA Cup, and reach the FA Trophy quarter-final. I think that is rather sensible. We've got a lot of wage budget if we want to spend it, a fair bit of transfer budget as well, just by virtue of all these players we've been selling. We've made £150,000 in sales thus far. If Sellers goes through, that's going to take us to £250,000 made. I think a pretty logical place to start here is with looking at players whose contracts expire at the end of the month. In retrospect, maybe I could have done this at the start of June. Of course, you're able to approach to sign players based in England a month before the expiry of their contract on free deals. Then again, I kind of wanted to wait for the season tick-over date to see what players we might have at our disposal. You can see here a few fairly big names. Players, though, who are on very big wages. Sam Dalby of Wrexham, good little player, promoted with Wrexham to the Championship. He's not going to want to join me, is he? Surely. I mean, let's find out. How much does he want? Okay. Yeah. Might need to set a maximum wage demand. Right now, our highest earners are on £1,400 a week. I'm willing to give that a little bit of flexibility, but really, I don't want to be going above, say, the £1,800 mark. Another good thing, by the way, is because of the transfer restriction we have only been able to sign English players, the game actually automatically filters out all the non-English players for me as unrealistic transfers, which makes my job of finding players maybe a little bit easier. Bromley have a Lomola here available, a striker. I need defensive midfielder. That's what I need. In terms of defensive midfielder scouted, Isaac Marriott is perhaps the pick of the bunch. He doesn't wow me. Jack Young on a lot of money playing for Wickham. He is just not very good either. It's weird because I've got players like Dowling, Bowres, and Josh Chambers here. They're all versatile kind of centre defensive mids who can play a range of roles. But I'm looking for that defensive specialist, the man who can sit alongside Hume in our team and offer balance. I'm looking for someone kind of with, I want to say 13 tackling and 13 marking. That'd be nice. Has just dawned on me. Probably would help if I upgraded my scouting package, wouldn't it, when I'm looking for players like this? One thing that I sometimes do find useful, especially if you're in the National League, is actually to kind of look for players with contracts expiring, but then specify Premier League and then kind of go down the Football League that way. Naturally, the players that show up further down this list, obviously playing for Premier League academy teams, tend to be slightly better players who perhaps are a bit undervalued. I look at someone like Ben Truman here. Great decision making, really good positioning, marking and tackling. Not quite the 13s I was looking for, but we'll get a scout report on him. And of course, if I was playing with outer tribute masking on, I'd probably just mass select these players and just scout them all. But we play with it off simply because it helps with videos. I'm actually going to change the defensive midfielder thing to accomplished. I feel like there's more accomplished defensive mids than natural centre mids in the world. There's a few more players showing up here. Carl Kelly, you are not a defensive midfielder. Thomas Pilling here can play a whole host of different positions and a load of different roles. I feel like he's of a mould of a lot of my current defensive midfielders, where not exactly a defensive specialist, just kind of good at everything. Callum Jones is transfer listed by Hull. His contract's expiring anyway. He's actually quite a good, well-rounded player, but he has got just a little bit of a defensive edge about him. I feel like I might have signed him in a past Park to Prem. He just has a familiar, friendly face, the 24-year-old. I'm curious. I can't ask his agent how much he might want. How much might he want? 1.1 thousand. That's actually kind of reasonable. I'm going to negotiate this a little bit. I'm kind of putting in an early offer here that perhaps I shouldn't put in. I'll get the scout report on him. Obviously, we can delay this offer whilst we await for a scout report. We don't have to immediately confirm his signing. And on top of that, if there's other options out there, I can just pull out the deal. I really wanted Sunny Singh to be good just because it's a very fun name to say. The 21-year-old plays for Stoke. Yeah, he's not quite good enough, sadly. I'll be honest, the Championship is not exactly providing the type of player, the level of player I was hoping it might. My concern here is, as I go through now League One players, is I'm kind of beginning to think that Callum Jones could be the one. Is there a risk that a load of teams now make a bid for him because I've decided he's good? George Dowling was our go-to defensive midfielder last year. Callum Jones, by comparison, a monumental upgrade in the defensive department. Not quite as good when it comes to physicals, but we have a lot of players that can run around quickly. Not so many intelligent defensive players. I'm actually going to go back and look at more Premier League players, but just not with a position locked in, just because very often you find some really just quality players out there. Players like Sam Murray here. I mean, he doesn't look awful. I don't really need a left-back, though. Sean Tarima here is a Zimbabwean centre-back. He's definitely a no-nonsense centre-back. He's not got a lot about his game, but he's got the holy trinity of technicals for a centre-back. Heading, marking, tackling. If you have all three of these, you'll do okay. I do need depth centre-back players. He only wants to be a breakthrough prospect. He only wants £400 a week. I'm going to offer him a 2-year deal. He really wants a 1-year deal. Okay, you know what? £400, 1-year deal, bringing him really to be a bit of depth at centre-back. Because as I already mentioned, we currently have 4 centre-backs. He could be a little solution. Isaac Holland here at Brentford looks very, very good. Of course, our go-to pressing forward this year has been McGlynn. McGlynn is leaving at the end of his current contract. Isaac Holland really isn't much of a downgrade and is a couple of years younger. There is already interest in him from Braintree. I mean, I've got a scout report coming in. Do I make a bid now with the view to withdraw it if I need to? You know what? I'm going to take a gamble. We'll wait for the scout report to come in. To be fair, with all these Premier League players, it might be just worth scouting them all. There's part of me that is also tempted to do a similar search filter, but untick the filter out unrealistic transfers. Just because players that go on to be free agents and actually leave their club tend to very quickly kind of lower their expectations for teams that they will go to. If I untick this, gives me about another 20 players I've not yet scouted. I mean, Jack Henry Francis here looks very, very good. Irish youth international, good tackling, good marking, half-decent positioning, 21 years old. How does he compare with Callum Jones? He's better defensively, not quite as well-rounded. I like the look of him. At the moment, he doesn't want to join me. He's the kind of player that we will scout. Maybe he'll change his mind once he's a free agent. So I've got Tarima and Jones currently being approached to sign. I'm scouting both of them as well. There's over 100 other players we're scouting. I think at the moment, I'm willing just to hit continue a little bit. Like I said, the 1st of July, players will walk away from the club upon the end of their contracts at different teams. At that point, might be a few more players available. It's a big payday, everyone. £5,000 in National League TV money. Get in there. Another area of the team I've not mentioned yet is goalkeeper. Arlo Toati this year has been the backup goalkeeper. He wants to be an important player. He's really insistent on him. I can't give him it, and he's asking for over £1,000. So he's leaving. We are going to need to find a new backup goalkeeper. Otherwise, Jeremy Lechavier, who was a French player who came through our youth intake, who is also English, he's born in London, he would currently be the backup goalkeeper. He's not that good. I've noticed there's a couple of goalkeepers here that my staff have got recommended. Miles Roberts here actually doesn't look that bad. Super consistent player. Little bit of potential, currently playing for Watford. The other man who's here is Billy Terrell. I feel like we can do better than both these guys. Good news, everyone. Sellers has rejected Shrewsbury. I guess I'm just going to have to offer him out again and hope that he leaves. I did see some good news here. TNS have made an offer for Josh Harrop. Get him off the wage budget. Get him gone. Oh, and Sean Tarima has agreed to join the club. I'll be honest, I kind of forgot that with players that you approach to sign, you can't actually delay the transfer. The good news is the scout report is already in for this guy, and it's convinced me enough that we should give him a shot as a backup centre-back for us. He's quick, he's okay in the air, he will do a job. Obviously, we sold Kwamina for £50,000. Tarima joins us on a free transfer. And, okay, look, I'll admit it, he does look like a little bit of a downgrade, but actually, in terms of the things important for a centre-back, I think the physicals, both in the air and pace, are just essential at this level especially. Never mind the fact, of course, he is a backup on £400 a week. We can still go and sign a load more centre-backs if we want. Callum Jones also been asked to confirm this transfer. £900 a week for this guy. Scout report is in, super consistent, has a good little personality. I say a good personality. He's balanced and normal. Apparently, that's a plus point. Is our team just not normal? I like the look of this guy a lot. Little bit of experience as well, can play anywhere down the middle. I think I'm going to bring him in. He wasn't quite what I had in mind in terms of defensive midfielders, but for the price as a free transfer, I feel like we can't be picky. And on the day that I confirm the signing of him, Dowling goes and gets injured for 7 weeks to 9 weeks. Makes the transfer look even better. Grimsby have made an offer for Sellers. Sellers says he has no... Come on, mate. Grimsby is lovely. I might not be part of your plans, but I haven't given hope on changing your mind. I'm saying this because it's what I want for you best as a person. He's willing to speak to Grimsby. Look, Grimsby is lovely, Jarell. I know you started your career up north and then you went to Sweden for a bit. Don't think you're above Grimsby because you lived in Sweden for 2 years. Also, some more sad news, everyone. Liam Trotter has retired from football and become a really bad coach, with respect, Liam. And Oscar Goben has also retired. He's decided to become a head of youth development, who really doesn't have good attributes for anything either. Josh Harrop, £0 received. Do we care? No, not really. He was absolutely atrocious for us. Given the fact he was the joint second highest earner at the club, I'm just relieved to get rid of him. Loads of players with contracts expiring who are remaining on month-to-month dealings rather than walking, which is interesting. Joe, do you want to change your mind and stay now, maybe? If I offer him regular starter, what kind of money does he want? He wanted to be an important player. He wants £1,500 a week. That's so much money for a player who I don't know how good he's going to be long term. I mean, he's a good little player, the 22-year-old. He got 19 goals in 39 games for us, but in games where he didn't score, his ratings were atrocious. He didn't even really turn provider much. I don't feel like he was much of a match winner either. I'm really talking myself out of wanting to renew his deal. If he'd asked for £1,000, I'd say fair enough, that's reasonable. I just don't feel like he's worth the money he's asking for. I suppose the good news is I can go and look at other strikers like the Brentford youngster we've got being scouted. And if I decide those players are better, we can just let Joe go. Maybe on the flip side, he'll decide just to stay around for cheaper if we keep him around longer. Have just noticed here, players with contracts expiring at the end of the current year, Overton, Thorndyke. I'm going to have to sort them out at some point, aren't I? Scout reports have started to come in for some of those players that we were scouting from various Premier League clubs as well. Luca Colville here was not at a Premier League club. He was playing for Scarborough. He's quite good, but I don't need another centre attacking mid. Nathan Butler Oyedeji. That's a fun name to say. 22 years old, released by Arsenal. The man can run very quick. I mean, when you compare him against McGlynn, he's a lot less complete. But look at the speed. Right, Nathan, how much do you want, mate? He wants to be an important player. This is going to end in tears, isn't it? This is going to be something really wacky and unreasonable. Yeah, I should have known. Byron Wilson here could be a decent little backup right-back option if I wanted to bring such player in. Of course, Sammy Robinson has already agreed now to leave the club. He's actually decided to go to Kilmarnock. The fact he's signing for a Scottish Premier League club is absolutely mental to me. I don't feel like he's that good. I mean, Byron Wilson, by comparison, not quite as good. Ajaria will be the go-to right-back this year. My concern if I sign someone like Wilson is I'm going to end up denying a 16-year-old a chance to really develop in the first team. You know, I don't need a right back. There's a striker called Sonny Fish. I want to sign him for his name alone, and I can't do it. I'm looking through all these strikers we've got scouted. I'm not wowed by many of them. I think with McGlynn, I'm going to try and just match his current contract on £1,100. I'm not giving him a promotional wage rise. We'll see what he says. He really wants this 1.5. How much can I negotiate him down? 1.2. See, that feels actually more reasonable now suddenly, doesn't it? I mean, we've managed to haggle him down a lot there. It's going to be awkward when I have to promote him back from the under-21s to train with the first team, isn't it? I mentioned before needing a goalkeeper. There's actually a load of goalkeepers that my scouts seem to rate reasonably well. Sean McDonald, I'm pretty sure I had in Park to Prem recently. He's actually really good. Sean, do you want to be my backup goalkeeper? Oh my word, he actually might want to be. Will he have reasonable wage demands? Look, I'll give you a long-term deal cheaper. He wants the long-term deal. He doesn't like cheap. £725 for Sean McDonald. I'm 99.9% sure he was my goalkeeper at Rugby Town. Can we just do that again? Can we run it back? I mean, when you compare him to Joe Rose, our starting goalkeeper, he's not even really a million miles away. Probably should just look at these other goalkeeping options that we do have scouted. You know what? I think McDonald's the man. I was curious by this guy that's got Brazilian nationality and also is part English. He can jump really high. He can't do much else. Jones and Tarima have officially joined us. The fans are lukewarm, a C and a B- for them. Harrop has left the building though, which is good news for us. McDonald's now had offers from Hull City and Accrington Stanley, so presumably he won't go to us. And Thorndyke is considering looking at his options at the end of his contract. I can renew his contract now. Before I have a meeting with him, let's sit down and try and thrash out a new contract with him. He is currently on £1,400 a week. He's currently one of our highest earners. What kind of money is he going to want? That is just... It's so much money, and I know I can technically afford it, but I talk about this a lot. As soon as you offer a key player £3,000 a week, all the other key players on the team are going to look around and think, I should be earning as much as that bloke. And very suddenly, offering one player £3,000 a week turns into offering 2 or 3 more players that kind of money. Then the first team regulars look around and go, well, if the key players are getting that much, I want to bump up too. And it spirals out of control. Finlay Thorndyke is quite good. He's actually got some interest in him. I could sell him with a view to bring in Jack Morehouse in at centre attacking mid. I don't really want to lose Thorndyke for nothing. And Morehouse here, and he's not as good defensively, but he's still a relatively good player. He's thinking about considering his options at the end of his contract. I really, really want to renew this deal, but this is just outrageous money. I mean, I can offer him £2,000 a week and a 50% promotional wage rise. It's annoying. I think he's going to just ask to leave on a free transfer. With that in mind, I'm going to offer him out now. Try and get some money for him, I think. I just want to let you know I'm going to explore my options when my contract expires. I really thought you were interested in extending your time here. I don't know who's been briefing you, but I'm not as keen as staying as you think, cheeky sod. I really hope you reconsider. He's leaving. Right. Finlay. This is like breaking up with someone. I think I've got to sell him. I mean, we've offered him out. Hopefully we get a little bit of transfer interest in him. There's a load of players here in England that have been released. I don't think Christian Eriksen's going to want to sign for me. Oh, yeah, he's not English. Do we keep that in the video editing, Jack? Edit that bit out. I am getting more scout reports back on players that I was scouting. Players like Isaac Holland, who's now officially a free agent. He looks quite good. I kind of want to offer some of these players that we're scouting that were playing for Premier League clubs trials. Maybe that'll help them lower their wage demands. But There could be some useful players here. I should point out at this point, there's still a lot of these players still to be scouted. My scouts are going to be busy all summer. Hopefully some of them are still free agents when we actually get the scout reports in. I'm going to ask for more scouts. Maybe that will solve the problem. Sellers has rejected Grimsby. I just want him to go. I just need to get 100 grand for him. He's good. He's just not good enough. Good news. Our scout number has been increased to 3 from 2. Right. Time to hire someone. Right. Robbie Cowling, who's a director of football technically, but could also be a scout, is definitely the best man I can pick up here. He only wants a tiny amount of money. Look, sign a long-term deal, Robbie. Let's commit to a long-term relationship together. I feel like he's really, really good for our level. You know what? He could have come in to be our director of football. As a scout, he'll do the job. Wycombe have made a Thorndike offer. They've offered £28,000. I was hoping for like 100 to 200,000. I'm just going to be cheeky here. They've negotiated 37. What about 150,000 Wycombe? 45. I feel like this is going to be tough to make a good deal with them. Yeah, this is going to be tricky, isn't it? £100,000, 50% sell on. They've accepted. I feel like that's not the best deal in the world, and maybe I could get more money for him, but no one else is making bids. I almost feel like if I'm going to sell him for that amount, I'm better off just keeping him around and losing him on a free. I mean, if we could get promoted this coming year, maybe he'd reconsider and decide to stay at the club. He's only said he's exploring his options. He's not said he's going to leave. By the way, more scout reports coming in for contract status expired players. And Dukwu here is not good. Why are my scouts recommending him so highly? Princewell, last name I cannot say. 19 determination. He's actually quite good. He was playing for Southampton. Good technicals, really good technicals. Okay physicals. What kind of money does he want a week? He wants to be a breakthrough prospect. I'm not really sure he's good enough for our first team, but for £300 a week, just for the last name, Ahib Bationham. I've definitely not said that correctly. I kind of want to sign him. All I'm saying is, sellers compared with Princewell, I would rather have Princewell in the team. Granted, Princewell can't play centre attacking mid. Accrington, Stanley and Weymouth want to ruin my fun. And I'm fuming. Things are going well. Tarima's broken his arm. So the depth centre-back I've signed will not be providing depth, at least initially. The start of the season, by the way, is in a month's time. We are about 4 weeks away from the start of it. Our team is still a little bit of a mess. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is actually plenty of players here, and I do have like a starting 11 kind of blocked out. Let's get Callum Jones in there. I was hoping to have a few more players sorted, and if I'm looking at players like Thorndike potentially leaving, that's another problem I'm creating that I'm going to have to solve. All I'm saying is Callum Jones is a defensive midfielder. Oh, look at that. I love the look of that. There's a few much younger players in this list, though. Players like Timmy Akid Kunle here. He actually doesn't look bad. 18 years old, another young centre-back I could just bring in for depth. Was at Tottenham. Who's made a bid for him? National South teams. I mean, there's some League Two teams looking at him and some Championship teams looking at him, so he must have some potential. What does he want here? He wants £375. I'm going to get rid, or I was going to get rid of his minimum release clause. It's locked in, sadly. I removed the yearly wage rise and the promotion wage rise. If he plays, 10 games for us and then 20 games for us, he can have these wage rises too. I'm not sure if he'll ever get those for us. I don't love the release clause, but depth centre-back with some potential to sell him on. It's okay with me. Oh, Oakley Cannoneer. Now, there is a throwback to a past Park to Prem legend. This guy's 21 years old, has a lot of potential in Football Manager, is not showing it here, I will admit. He's actually a very, very good player. He's only just turned 21. I mean, what kind of money does he want? He only wants to be a breakthrough player. Is it the fact that he's a former Liverpool player and a former Park to Prem legend that makes me want to sign him? I mean, compared to McGlynn, you could argue he's a bit of a better striker. He also has the kind of plus point of the fact he can play centre attack in mid. How does he compare with someone like Thorndike? He's just not the same level. But, I still like him. As a free transfer, I think it's a good deal. Is there any more good, young, exciting players here? Lewis Jackson, 19 years old, Scottish, centre-back, was at Manchester United. I think I might have looked at this guy. Super consistent player. How much money does he want? Again, I need depth in the centre-back area. I wouldn't mind as well bolstering our under-21s a little bit more at the moment. I'll give him £550. There's an injury release clause that I'm being asked to put in here. I'm going to get rid of that. That might be a red flag to the fact he could be a bit injury prone. He wants £600. I want him on a longer term deal if I'm going to give him that kind of money. 650, 3-year deal. Bob's your uncle. Louis Jackson could be our centre-back. He's actually quite a good little player. I mean, as a reminder, right now we do lack centre-backs quite a lot. Tarima's out for the foreseeable future. I probably need at least 2 more. I have to admit, it's been a long time since I've done kind of a lower league English transfer special, so I do feel a bit rusty. If you've got any feedback with regards to today's video, how maybe we can mix up the formula going forward, let me know. I already know, looking at my recording time down on my other screen, this is going to be a slightly longer than usual episode. I think at this point, it's pretty safe to say it is probably going to be a 2-parter. Cannonier's getting a load of offers made for him, including by Cardiff Met Uni, which is annoying. Cardiff Met Uni do sometimes produce quite good players with their youth recruitment and stuff. Do they have any good players? Because they all have amateur deals as well. Are any of these guys any good? I mean, this guy's not bad. Connor Blythe. Don't think he's what I need. I mean, they do have an under-19. I'm looking at the under-19s of Cardiff Met Uni. Is this rock bottom? Look how bad they all are. I'm trying to think of other teams that I could look at potentially for players. There's a few different teams around the world that can produce good little players for it to be worth kind of signing. None of these guys are good for Cardiff Met Uni. Another team that I used to love was the CU Academy. I think it's is it the CU Academy? This team here, they play in Australia. They sometimes produce partially English players. I'm going to need to insert a secondary nationality column. Okay, admittedly right now, of all their actually generated players, they've not got any that are partially English. But look, you can get players like Nikola Stojanovitsky on a free transfer. He's on an amateur deal, 19 years old. Look how good he would have been for me. Obviously, I can't tell you if he would have been interested in signing for me because he's not English. York City won the league in the National League. Now they're trying to sign Timmy away from me and I'm upset. Cannoneer has accepted an offer from Doncaster, so that deal's not happening, but some good news. Cowling is joining us as a scout, and McGlynn has signed a new deal with only a minor wage rise. I suppose at this point we should promote him back to the senior team. Have had an offer here for Pharrell Williams. It's a locked-in offer from Morecambe. Williams is a weird player. 1 goal in 12 games. He can only play in the wide attacking areas as well as at striker. I don't feel like he's an awful player, but my only concern really is that right now he's 7th in the pecking order with our strikers in our team. Even if I went on to sell a few strikers, very unlikely he's going to find himself in the team on the regular. We've got players like Victor Musa here at 18 years old, who I think has more long-term upside. Of course, we've also brought in Andy White and promoted him. You know what? I might live to regret this because it's not a lot of money, but I'd rather get something for Pharrell Williams. And he got 1 goal last year at striker. It's not exactly prolific. Timmy has gone to York. I am fuming. And to make things worse, I'm being asked about Thorndyke. Thorndyke to Wickham. 50% of any profit. A range of friendly as well. Oh, I don't know if I should sell him or not. I really don't know. I almost want to sleep on it and use this as a good endpoint for today's video. What would you do? Finley Thorndyke, probably going to leave on a free at the end of his contract at the end of the year. Do I just keep him around for a year? I feel like £100,000 really isn't that much money. It's not like I'm desperate for money, though. I mean, the wages have been freed up more and more by me getting rid of some squad players. Oh, I mean, I have Morehouse. I don't even think I could replace Thorndyke with Morehouse. I think I'd have to go and find another player. And if you're wondering, does a similar centre attacking mid exist out there? I think the answer is probably no, as I look through all the players here. I mean, Ty Barnett here was at Wolves. He's quite fun and exciting, but he's nowhere near as complete as Finley. He's just quick, has vision, and has technicals. He's just not on the same level, is he? Peter Paulette. Yep, no idea why he's shown up so high in the list. I feel like with Ty Barnett here, I almost want to just give him a contract. He wants to join as a breakthrough player. I love the fact I'm getting rid of Pharrell Williams and players like that while signing players like this guy, who I won't be signing because of his wages, but there's definitely a few players that I'm looking to sign at the moment that I'm signing more for the sake of it than anything else. Although, look, Prince Will could be exceptional. The new Pharrell Williams, isn't he? I mean, look, he is better than Pharrell Williams as a striker. No one can convince me otherwise. I'm going to delay this offer for now. I want to get our other transfers in happening today, and then I can kind of sleep on things, cry about the fact that Oakley Cannoneer didn't want to join me, and move on with my life. Sean McDonald's agreed terms with Hull. I feel sick. At least I'm getting more scout reports in for players. Roman Dixon here has already signed for FC Halifax. I hate Halifax. Louis Jackson, who we're looking to sign, is actually rated really, really highly by our staff. Potentially championship potential, which I kind of like the look of. There's a few slightly older players here that I've got scout reports for. I mean, Noah Watson wouldn't be bad as a depth player who can also play left wing back. He's almost like the left back equivalent of Travis Johnson, isn't he? In fact, he literally is just such a similar mould of player. He was at Crystal Palace. If he wants to come in for like £800 a week, he wants to come in for £500. Okay, you know what, Noah, come on down. I definitely could have negotiated that contract more, but yeah, this guy just as a backup left back option for us, I think could be really, really good. Right now, in terms of left backs, we have Pye, we have Aaron Allen, and that's kind of it. So getting in a third option would be good. If I get in Jackson and Watson, I actually really like our defence this year. And their wage demands are really reasonable. Princewell has joined Tranmere. At least I don't have to worry about saying his last name, but he would have been kind of good. Pharrell Williams is going for £11,000 to Morecambe. I'm happy to receive that transfer fee. Okay, look, one last joke for the road. Now we can move on with our lives. I still do need a goalkeeper. Teddy Sharman Lowe. He's absolutely unreal. He's right up there because of his reputation. He was playing League 2 football last year and playing quite well. Is he better than Rose in goal? Yes, is the answer. How much money do you want, Teddy? I mean, now I'm very, very curious. It's going to be thousands, isn't it? How much? This just isn't going to work. Rohan Luffra, Indian international, was playing for Derby. I mean, if he wants to come in to be my backup goalkeeper, he wants £2,000. No, thank you. I mean, they were the players rated highly in terms of reputation. In terms of the players rated highly in terms of players I've scouted, it's players I've already looked at. Miles Roberts really isn't too bad. We looked at him before. He's now left Watford. He wants next to nothing. I'll offer him a long-term deal. Welcome in Miles. I say welcome in. Watch someone else now go and sign him ahead of me. Louis Jackson has agreed terms with Spennymoor. He's gone on trial to Spennymoor rather than sign for us. I guess I'll offer him another new deal. I'm going to try and offer him a slightly better deal. I don't want to lose Jackson here. My scouts say he might have championship potential. If he has that, I want to make sure he's signed for the long haul. He doesn't want to sign a 3-year deal. I'm going to try and convince him otherwise through the power of money. Turns out money's powerful. Who would have thought it? I'm conscious of the fact that we're already almost midway through July. The season starts in 3 weeks. There comes a point where I need to say enough is enough. Are we at that point? I think we might be. Although I have just realised there's players like Flanagan, Ogre and Younger here who are just at the club still with contracts expired and I'm paying them hundreds of pounds a week to do nothing. Let's get them gone. Okay, you know what? So far I feel like it's been a fairly eventful transfer special in terms of some deals that we've got over the line. Tarima and especially Jones I think is going to be a really good addition. I would like to bring in a few more big upgrades to the first team. I think that might be the name of the game for next episode. I'm hoping as pre-season goes on and better players don't find clubs, they kind of lower their expectations and we can be their sloppy seconds. But in terms of the dealings we've done so far, no money spent yet. Of course, a few good, exciting youngsters potentially joining us. I really do feel like if Jackson was to join us and Watson was to join us, we would solve pretty much all the defensive issues I have going into this year. There'd be plenty of depth in that area of the pitch. And I do feel like, alongside Spencer Addons and Hockenhull, who were reliable centre-backs last year, Jack Kingdom is going to be a really good final piece in the puzzle of our back three. As for the rest of the team, excited to see our newly promoted youngsters get on. I'm kind of hesitant to sign too many players because I don't want to deny them first team opportunities. Right now, our team sits at 23 players. If Thorndike leaves, if maybe we move on Sellers, there's definitely room to bring in a few more players in the next 3 weeks. Anyway, I will leave you guys with one final dilemma, and it's this one. Finlay Thorndike. Would you sell him to Wickham? Would you keep him around for £100,000? I feel like that sell-on could potentially be massive if he was to develop and they do flip him on for some good money. On the flip side, if he does leave, there is a little bit of a gap in the team to fill. Would love to know your thoughts down below. Today's episode has been a bit of a mammoth recording session. I sure hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, go down below, leave a like. We're back tomorrow to wrap up our transfer business, hopefully with a few exciting ones. I'll see you for that next time. I'm out.